Well, here we go again on this, the 13th podcast of the Shrimps Trust this season. So join us this week on ShrimpNet, chat all things shrimpy, both on and off the pitch. We have our eternally positive boardroom and business guru in Charlie Appleyard. Charlie, welcome along in your car. Hope the signal keeps going.
Good evening, guys. I've got good Wi-Fi in the car. It's probably better than at home, so fingers crossed.
Yeah, but yeah, it probably is actually, because you won't get interrupted. And fresh from various international appearances. I'm making him sound like an international film star here. But it's welcome along for the second time. He's got the short straw. It's Jacob Bedeau. Jacob, thanks for doing this.
It's not a problem at all. Hello, guys.
So where do we start? Well, usually we start with the fixture that's just happened. Lincoln City away. It wasn't the greatest of first round draws goal. Difficult to see the highlights because obviously it's FA Cup and it's all under embargoes and goodness knows what with the BBC and whoever's covering it. But from what I've seen and from what I listened to, it sounds like a game of two halves. We were a bit fortunate to go in at one apiece, but we'll take that. And then second half, bit of a change, and on we go and win it.
Yeah, I mean, looking back at the trying to gather what you can from the relatively limited information that's kind of put out online, obviously with regards to highlights and stats as well. There isn't too much going there, but and just chatting to people who are there, it's obviously like what I can make out. Obviously, sounds like Lincoln did have some good spells in the first half. Maybe didn't quite make the most of a couple of chances, but they've got the goal ahead. But yeah, we've got a set piece and they've let us back into it really, and we've shown a bit of quality when we needed to, when we've made a bit of danger, and it set us up nicely going into the second half. I'm sure kind of Jacob could probably speak more to this, but it sounds like there's been a bit of a shape change going into the second half, so I don't know if that's helped us out a little bit, but it sounds like we've come out pretty quickly in the second half. We've got the goal. It's a really, really lovely. It's to us, the whole goal is really lovely. It's fantastic from Eli King. Making that tackle in their half and then kind of turning past the player, feeding the ball through to Tom Bloxham. So I think it just shows how good it is to have him back in the side. And then Tom Bloxham, he's provided plenty this season. I think he's got 3 assists at the moment. He's got a remarkable ability of just constantly getting a cross in and either winning a corner or just putting it into the danger area. You know, he's been so consistent in his output from out wide. So for him to be able to kind of get on the score sheet now, finally, it's really positive, and I'm sure it's probably a bit of relief for him as well. But yeah, lovely take and finish, going around the goalkeeper and then just cutting it, not too dissimilar to Mellon the other week, I guess. Actually,
great,
yeah, and then when he's gone around the keeper and he's kind of played it against the momentum of the defenders, it's gone behind him and we've gone ahead, and then it looks like we've kind of kept up pressure. Bloxham's had one cleared off the line. You know, we could have maybe even extended the lead, which is really good against a mid-table League One side. I know they've just sacked the manager, but they've had a couple of decent games under their interim manager. And then I think, as you expect, last 10, 15 minutes, it looks like they've had a bit of an onslaught. They've kind of pushed on, and they've had a few dangerous moments. But that you expect that in football, and I think you have to go through those periods in matches, especially against higher league opposition, when you do have to, buckle in and be under the cosh for a bit. We've dealt with it, and we've come out on top into the next round. So yeah, lovely.
I'll come to you now, Jacob. Was there am I sort of saying the right things by saying that we were perhaps fairly fortunate to go in one apiece at half time, but we took that, and then was there a seed change in the how we operated second half?
Well, actually, to start the game, the gaffer changed our shape to match Lincoln up. So we started as a back three, and then pretty early in the first half, we realised they were playing a back four anyway. So they'd actually gone to match us up. So I think in the first half, it was a bit of almost like cat and mouse, kind of try and work each other out. I think they probably had the better of the chances. I think we could have been probably a little bit better in the final third with like that final pass on breakaways and stuff. And then second half, I think we were well on top for a good half an hour.
Yeah.
Probably should have added to the second goal we did have, because they cleared one off the line. And then the keeper pulled off a really good save. I think both were from Blocko again as well. So we probably they did well to hang on to 2-1, and then obviously as the game went on, they kind of chucked everyone forward. It's a cup tie, so they bring on 4 strikers. The centre half ends up playing up top, so then you just try and weather the storm, and luckily we did, and we're into the next round.
Yeah, and it was. I won't say it was an unexpected win, Charlie, but it was a grateful one. And you're looking at the draw and you're thinking, well, and it will take anybody at home. And as has been our way at the moment, we seem to be slightly unlucky with the draws. We seem to be picking decent sides from above a league above, and we get them away. But there are tougher draws, but there could have been better ones.
So we're rubbish away out. We've only won 4 in a row. Yeah. Lincoln are a bloody good side, right? I think last season did they lose one at home all season? I know they drew a lot of games, but I think we beat them at home, didn't we? But when we played them away, we seem to always lose quite. I'm not sure we lost by many goals, but we used to lose quite. They used to dominate us in the games, and I don't think we did really well when we played them away in League One, and we did fantastically well. We've got arguably we've got a stronger team than last year, maybe, I don't know, but we've just got some we're really savvy. Blockno's been brilliant, and I think when you have these tough but average draws in the first, second round, they aren't ideal, but when you win one, absolutely amazing boost. You probably get a bigger boost from beating a League One team than you will do from beating Malden and Tiptree. Do you know what I mean? So it was just brilliant to see, and I just think that we deserve all the credit we get there. I think it was a brilliant win, and I don't think they could believe it. I saw this YouTube, Tom Collins on his YouTube special, some fanders around the grounds, and he was sitting in. He was on YouTube. Watch it, and the Lincoln fans before him were saying, they're fully expected to win. Respect us, but they gave a definite 2-0 win. And he was in the crowd with them, and they were really supportive at first, but they got really angry towards the end. I don't think they could believe they were losing to Little Morecambe, but we did really well, and I think we should be really proud.
And a very welcome. Is it just over 40 grand for getting through to the second round, Charlie?
Yeah, something like that, yeah, every little helps.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would do. And I'll come back to you now, Jacob. Wickham away, not, as I said, not the greatest of draws, but obviously we're fast approaching. We were just talking about it before you came on. We're fast approaching your second anniversary of your Morecambe debut, and I'm thinking making your debut for us at Tottenham Hotspur's new stadium. That was some baptism of fire, wasn't it, when they brought Harry Kane on?
Yeah, obviously that was class to go down there and play them at their place. And we were holding on to the 1-0 lead for a while. I actually went off while it was 1-0, so I'm saying
it's not your fault then.
I beat Spurs technically. But yeah, I mean, Wickham is not an ideal draw, but it could have been worse. And we get to test ourselves against another good League One team, and I think with the team we've got this year and the energy we've got going forwards and in wide areas at the back and up front, we could go anywhere and get a result. So hopefully we can go there, get the win, and then we can kind of get our ball in the hat for the third round and hopefully get one of the big boys.
That would be nice. Yeah. One of the big boys, or probably somebody crap away. But anyway, never mind. We're going to beat Wickham first, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
And it isn't going to be. It's not going to be an easy tie, that, Joel, is it? Because obviously we've got a good history at Wickham, having some right ding dongs with them, haven't we?
Yeah, there's been some good games. I think. I guess the whole Wickham thing it's lost a bit of its edge now. Gareth Ainsworth left Wickham because I think there's previously been a bit of beef between him and Derek Adams before.
Yeah,
from his Plymouth days. But we've had a few good games with them over the past few years, haven't we? Adam Mayer scoring from a corner last year. Cole's last-minute winner that kind of set off that last little charge towards the end of last season. That was quite exciting. And I think
We lost 4-3, but it was a great game the year before.
That was a great game.
And then
Joe Nyonga should have scored, and it was the last kick of the game.
I think he had his redemption. I think later that season. I think when Jacob was here, when we played him at home, and I think it's probably one of the best performances I've ever seen from a Morecambe side when we beat Wickham. We beat 3-2 at home.
3-2. Yeah, I remember that.
Akinfenwa scored in the first minute, didn't he? A header.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was a good win.
Yeah, I remember Jonah. Yeah, talking to Jonah, actually, he was tearing Joe Jacobson to bits down that.
He was. Yeah, so that was kind of my point, really, in the fact that our games against Wickham, particularly in the last sort of like couple of seasons, have been very, very entertaining and very, very open. So with it being a cup game, I don't suspect that's going to change, Joel.
No, yeah, I mean, I guess Wickham have long kind of had that reputation as a bit of a dirgy kind of long ball side, but I think I remember like you looking at some of the numbers they had, especially even when they were under Ainsworth. I think the kind of direct football they played ended up quite often yielding quite a lot of end-to-end action and stuff like that. I think obviously this season they've obviously when we played them at the end of last season, they had Matt Bloomfield coming in and the kind of transition in style a bit, obviously. But yeah, hopefully it'll be another exciting game. Just a shame it's away from home, but as we've shown in the last few weeks, we're pretty capable away from home, aren't we?
Yeah. As Charlie's already made the point, we've only won 4 on the bounce, so happy days.
4 out of 5, to be fair. I think we've
and bizarrely, we're away again.
Forget the Barrow game.
In the league, yeah, that's right. Barrow doesn't count. Yeah, we're away again at Grimsby, Blundell Park on Saturday, which. I'll say managerless Grimsby because I'm surprised they've sacked Paul Hurst, because the simple fact is he's been part of the furniture there in 2 separate spells and has done a really, really decent job getting back from non-league and they've got some. Looking at their squad, I looked at the squad before we went live and they've not got a bad squad at all for this division, Joel.
Yeah. After the who are in League 2, what more could you want?
Exactly, but he's not. The thing is, he's not been playing him, and I don't understand.
Well, you know what? He stopped playing him, and then he lost a few games, and he's been sacked. So
I know.
I think that's the pattern there. But they've got good players aside from that, the who are as well. You know, they've got Danny Rose up front, very good player for this level. Aloysius really seems to have hit the ground running there. He's a very good player. The defensive midfielder they've got. Can't remember where they signed him from, but I think they only signed him over summer. He's a fantastic player. I remember watching him on the TV against Bradford. He's a really good player. So, you know, they've got some good players in there, Grimsby, but just looking at some of their underlying numbers, they're not creating a massive amount. They're conceding quite a few chances, and you can kind of see why maybe they weren't too happy with the performance, and obviously it's been reflected in the results as well. But I think, you know, it's one of those where you maybe they've jumped the gun and not appreciate the context of the fact that this particular iteration of League 2 is a particularly tricky one. And you know just how there are only 24 places in the league, and there are only so many places in the top half, and you know it doesn't take much. I don't think it's going to take too much to slip into the bottom half this season. So yeah, maybe a little bit harsh given what he's achieved with the club before, but at the same time, maybe sometimes you do. I remember looking back, taking an example in the Premier League of all those years ago when Nigel Adkins got sacked by Southampton, and everybody was a bit outraged, and they've gone and brought in Maurizio Pochettino, and it's done really well for them for a period of time. So you never know how these things are going to work out, but it doesn't look like they've
Pochettino to Grimsby.
What's that?
Pochettino to Grimsby.
Maybe he's had enough of
ShrimpNet exclusive.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's had enough of how many players they've got at Chelsea. He's finding it too much to manage. He wants a smaller squad, so he's going to come down to Grimsby.
Yeah, good shout. Yeah, it could happen. Don't knock it. It's a funny
one. Jacob must be delighted. He plays international football in very, very sexy climes in the world, and then when he's playing for Morecambe, he goes to Grimsby, Lincoln, Barrow, Sutton, Colchester, Gillingham. living the dream, mate. Living the dream.
Yeah. I mean, Barrow.
Hang on a second. You got a Christmas tree up?
Yeah, my missus put it up.
Oh my goodness me!
My missus put it up the other week. She loves Christmas.
No, sorry. There's going to be. If it was down to me, there'd be a club fine for that, because I can show you a picture of where my Christmas tree is. It's in the bloody loft where it should be.
Well, the thing is, Jacob is he's going to all these ridiculously non-romantic places, so I suppose we let him off.
So, looking at Grimsby on Saturday, there's two things. Looking at the weather, there's two things to deal with. First of all, it's probably the equal coldest ground I've ever stood on. I took photographs there for the local paper when we went and we beat them 3-2 in one of our early seasons in the Football League in about 2008. And literally, it was on a Tuesday night. And I got home and I still couldn't feel my feet, and I'd been sat in the car for 4 hours because it's just right on the coast, bloody freezing. And secondly, you've got your hands full because you've got Danny Rose to consider, and he's one slippery customer, and he plays the dark arts and plays referees particularly well, Jacob, doesn't he?
I don't think I've ever played against him, to be fair.
Oh, you've got a treat then. I'll tell you what, you need to come on next week and tell me how right I was.
But I know, obviously, Abu Issa was at Scunthorpe with me, and there's a few of the boys from Burnley that are there as well. So I know a few of them, and I know obviously Arthur, and they're going to be a decent team, and it's going to be another tough test away, especially if it's raining. The conditions are horrible. I don't think the pitch is going to be great, so we're going to have to really go there and try and play our football and win the game.
Barrow Mark II, that's what I'm seeing.
They did a fantastic job, didn't they? But I think they came up from the playoffs in the lowest position in the league. They could have got in the playoffs.
Yeah,
they did. Or 8th. They did really well last year. Fair play to them.
Yeah, and obviously Paul Hurst was my manager at Scunthorpe as well, so I know the type of teams he creates, and they're always quite powerful, quite strong. And they're probably not where they want to be in the league right now. So it's going to be a tough game, yeah.
Yeah, and we follow it up, Joel, with the Tin Pot Cup away at Blackpool. The good news for everybody who's listening and watching is that we might lose quite a few players to international duty, but Jacob's got the short straw as a Grenadier of no game. Is that right, Jacob? So you're stuck at home playing Blackpool, probably.
Yeah. We don't have any games in the Nations League, so there's no camp this time. So I won't be going to any exotic islands or South America. So yeah, which is a bit disappointing. But we've got a lot to look forward to in terms of like the World Cup qualifiers and stuff. So it should be an interesting time.
Yeah, I hope so. But anyway, we'll go back to Blackpool because obviously we're only nipping up the coast. The pitch has improved dramatically at Blackpool since they managed to get into the Championship because the pitch was appalling when they were in League 2 and League 1. So it's actually got better. So we stand half a chance. And bizarrely, we're still in, despite that 3-0 defeat from Liverpool, we're still in with a chance of going through, Joel.
Yeah, I think we're in a situation now. We're in another Coventry-style situation where if we draw with them, then they go through and we go through. So perhaps, I'll do have to admit that I think the stakes are a little bit lower this time around, getting through to the next round of the EFL Trophy, whatever it's called now, instead of staying in the Football League. So I think there's a bit of a lower stakes one, but yeah, it's a weird little competition, isn't it? You end up getting. I mean, even that game against Liverpool was weird. We were probably the better side for a lot of that.
We were the better side.
Yeah, and actually, despite losing 3-0, it was probably quite useful because I think Michael Mellon got all his missed chances out. He got them all out of the way in that game. So he saved his clinical finishing for the league, and he just got all his bad misses out of the way in that game. So I think it's probably worked out for the best, really.
Yeah, and look at it, Charlie. It's one of them where we've bizarrely, when we look at the history of the same competition, we did actually get to the Northern Final once. And who did we play? But Grimsby, and where I remember a very, very cold evening at Grimsby when Alan Buckley was manager, and the Northern Final second leg, they'd beaten us 2-1 at home, and there was like 8,500 at Grimsby. and there was a very, very hostile atmosphere, very horrible place to go. So that was the last time we had a decent run in it. So it would be nice to actually, let's sort out a 0-0 draw at Blackpool and get through. It'd be a bit novel, wouldn't it?
What is it? Last 32 do we go to? Last 32 after that, is it?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, it's 32, 16, 84. It's 4 games away from Wembley, and I think, we're speaking to the Sutton got there the year, didn't they?
Yeah.
Sutton got to the final, and they
Yeah.
were saying the week that that the more and more the competition goes on, the more people want to do well in it. And they got to go to Wembley. They didn't win, but you don't get many chances, and you only need to draw. There's no replay. You just drawing good at penalty shootouts. So it could be really good. I'm sure Derek will want to do really well in it.
Yeah, hopefully. So, well, we'll see how it goes. If I had a choice, obviously, I'd rather beat Grimsby. I'm just saying out of the two, and I think probably all of us would agree on that. But it was a strange one. Just to go back, Jacob, go back to the Barrow game. I just want your take on the old ball boys disappearing with 15 minutes left, and then Adam Smith going to get the ball with like a minute of injury time. And as soon as he went to take the goal kick, they threw a ball on the pitch. You kicked it down the tunnel, and the bloke kicked it back on, and then you kicked it into the middle of next week. What was going on there?
Yeah, I think it was a bit of dark arts on Barrow's side, but that's what you expect when you go somewhere like that. I mean, the state of the pitch for this time in the season was incredible. To be honest, it might have been one of the worst pitches I've ever played on. So that doesn't.
Yeah, you couldn't keep your feet, couldn't you?
Yeah, and it didn't really help us because I think this year we're quite a good football inside. So it was hard for us to really create anything going forward because you couldn't really run with the ball. You couldn't pass the ball. You could only boot the ball in the air, really, which is something they were quite effective at doing. So hopefully when we get them at home on our pitch, which is actually has grass on, we'll do them. So
yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah.
So coming to you now, we'll chat a little bit. You've been to some far exotic places. I love that little chat that you had with Greg Lee when you played in Jamaica. What were you talking about there? You're like, are you still at Morecambe? Yeah, I'm still at Morecambe. And he's turned into Oxford's top scorer in the last half a dozen games, hasn't he, bizarrely?
Yeah, he was actually telling me he got the League One Player of the Month. So we were just having a chat, and I was seeing how he was getting on. Obviously, he's had quite a successful time since he left. Obviously, going up with Ipswich, and then Oxford are doing well now. So I think he's enjoying his football. Yeah.
Yeah, which is good. They've just lost their manager though, because obviously he's decided to go to Bristol City. So it'll be not that that'll bother Greg. But coming back to you, it must be an honour. When do you get the phone call, or do you get a letter, or do you get an email, or what happens? Do they just how do they contact you?
Well, the manager is Terry Connor, who was Mick McCarthy's assistant back in the day.
Yeah.
And so he came and met me in Manchester and kind of explained what he wanted to do, and how he saw things going. And I think he tried to persuade a few other British-based players who were playing in the league. And he kind of just laid it out. And I thought, because we have the international break anyway, because we have a fair few players going out and playing for Scotland and so on. I thought it was a good opportunity to go and experience a different type of football. Obviously, play against some real quality players, and you wouldn't believe the quality of, say, a Suriname, because you think, oh, Suriname's just a tiny little country in South America, but then you look at the players that play for them, and they've got players that play for QPR. The striker was from Union Berlin. One of the centre backs was from Trabzonspor. So they're really top quality players. So it's a real test. Yeah.
But so he recruited you, and he was trying to recruit others as well. So how did that go? Was it about sort of like half a dozen of you going, or was it just you were the one who said yes and everybody else has said no?
Well, do you know what? Since I've been out twice and no one else has actually gone out, because say in Mansfield, for example, Lucas Akins plays up top for them, and because they don't have an international break, it's hard for Mansfield to say, okay, yeah, go and miss 2 games or 3 games or whatever in the
Because
league.
he'd be the only one, and they wouldn't postpone the games.
Yeah, exactly. And it's the same for, say, Gavin Massey, Cameron Jerome in League One. And I think there's a few others as well. Ollie Norburn's another one.
All right, yeah.
So it's a shame, because if we could get a full kind of the full number of British-based Grenadian players going out, then we could probably put up a better fight against Jamaica and Suriname and Honduras and so on.
So the guys you're playing with, are they Grenada based, or are they playing in lower European leagues, or what?
Well, there's 2. One plays in Belgium for FC Eupen. One plays for Volendam in Holland, and then there's a few from like the National League, and then a few Grenadian based players as well.
So it's been a great experience for you then.
Yeah, obviously the quality of the opposition is a real test. In both in the 3 games I've played, I've been quite impressed with the quality of football, and it kind of opens your eyes to how big football is globally. That a little country like Suriname as the team that it has.
And so, from your point of view, did it come as a surprise when Terry Connor got hold of you, and was it an easy decision to make?
It wasn't a surprise, because it's always something. I've always been contacted by them to try and get me to represent the country, and I just thought this time, before it wasn't TC. TC wasn't the manager. So I didn't really know what it'd be like, but obviously he came and explained it to me. And obviously he's a top coach, and he's worked at the top level. So even to learn little things off him in the 9 or 10 days that I'm with him, it's beneficial to my career.
Yeah, obviously. And obviously hopefully that continues, because at the moment it's working well with you, because obviously we've got, as you've already said, we've got Michael Mellon and Eli King and Adam Mayer and everybody, and it seems strange. People are gobsmacked. I've got mates who are not local who are like, "How come your game's off? You know, there's 11 other fixtures and ours is gone." And I'm telling them, "Sorry, we've got 4 or 5 under 21 and full internationals," and they're going, "At Morecambe?" And I went, "Yeah," and I said, and bizarrely, there's 3 of them are ours. There's a couple on loan, but 3 of them are ours, which is a strange thing to say. But I don't think there's 1 or 2 Morecambe fans who've been complaining about it, because obviously we're losing out on the Saturday games, and we have got our next Saturday game is on December the 9th at home, which is Stockport. I think we've got Newport at home at the end of the month, but that's a Tuesday night. But I don't think you'll find many Morecambe fans complaining about it, because it's something that I wanted to come to, in the fact that we're, looking at the team in general, we seem to be going under the radar at the moment. Nobody's tipping us, nobody's watching us, and we're sort of by stealth, we're creeping into the sort of top 6, top 8. And obviously the Barrow loss if we'd have won that, people would have been taking notice. But in a sort of happy kind of way, we lost that, and we're still under the radar. And it's you, as being the age you are now. This must be bizarre for you, because you're one of the elder statesmen.
Yeah, I think it was in the Lincoln game. I think it was only Dave. Who else? There was only a couple older. I think Smudge, Dave, and Sluey, and then it was me. Which is weird, because I'm only 23. So
That's
it was a
got to
bit
be
of
odd,
a
hasn't it? That's got to
bit
be
of a
odd.
strange one. But yeah, I think as a team, I think we're quite confident in our ability. I think when we get it going in all areas of the pitch, I think at this level, I think we're a match for anyone, and there's no reason we can't keep stringing results together, and keep putting runs together.
So when you look at the team that Derek, shall we say, inherited, and then last season, to a certain extent, his hands were tied. Do you think we're stronger now than we were this time last season?
I think I'd probably say yes, because maybe we don't have the experience that last year's team had, but I think what we lack in experience, we make up for in enthusiasm and youth. When you have JJ sprinting around, Eli, Blocko, Mike up top scoring his goals, Beefy's come in and done well, and then you've still got players from last year who kind of realised what the problems were last year. And I think the experienced guys this year, we've made a change room that's quite good to be part of. Everyone gets on, and it's a proper tight-knit group.
That's nice to hear. So before I hand you over to Joel, if I haven't stolen all your questions, Joel.
No, you're all good.
Obviously, you had two centre halves that were involved in our League One battle last year, were you and Faz, and that must have helped at the start of this season when you two could assume your partnership. Because I don't think central defence was our weakness last year. I think we were definitely weak in other areas, but. How gratifying was it you to start the season alongside Faz and then get James Conley in, and we've got Stokesy in and what have you, and suddenly we're looking pretty solid. We're not conceding a lot at home, and we've not really, apart from Mansfield, we've not really had a bit of a tonking, have we?
Yeah, I think in terms of goals conceded, I think we're fourth, maybe fourth or fifth. So we're not doing too bad on that front. And obviously, I think Faz and me, when we play together, I think we complement each other quite well, because he's probably the best header of the ball I've ever played with, and I think that showed at Sutton away when he couldn't really stand up straight at half time, but he was throughout the first half clearing balls like every 2.5 minutes. So. Yeah, obviously we have a good understanding of each other's game, and then obviously Beefy and Stokesy have come in this season, and I think they've both done well. Obviously, I think Beefy's slightly different to Faz, where he's probably better on the ball than Faz is, but Faz is better in the air. So I think sometimes if we have a lot of possession, then Beefy can get on it and step in and do his thing. But then at times, like Sutton away, and Barrow, you need Faz to clear the ball out of the danger area, which he does very well.
Horses for courses.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's funny because I'm just interested in Beefy. James Conley is not that big, is he? Beefy? Where's that come from?
That's his nickname. I'm not actually sure why it's his nickname. It came with him from Bristol, so you'll have to ask him when he gets on the podcast.
Yeah, I've got this. I don't know. What does he eat? A lot of steak, or does he does he eat beef and tomato pot noodle? I don't know. It's a strange one. Anyway, Joel, it's your shout.
Yeah, just kind of picking up on the stuff. I think it was mentioned a bit earlier by Charlie, and obviously Freez just now about the team we had last season and kind of any issues with that. And I've seen fans debate the team we have this season in comparison to last season. I think personally the way I kind of summarise the differences and maybe where we're kind of stronger this season is that it feels like there's a lot more balance, and it's kind of a bit more. We've kind of worked out our identity as a side a little bit better than last season. I wondered what your kind of take on that was.
Yeah, I'd say we dominate games probably a little bit more this year. Obviously, the the opposition aren't as good as they were last year. I think League One last year was an incredibly tough league as well. So it's not. I don't think the team last year was bad. I just think this year we've probably got that enthusiasm and energy in the young players. That means we can go and snatch last minute winners like we did at Sutton, or put teams like Bradford to bed because of the kind of enthusiasm that we're playing with.
I guess Derek's got Jan Songo back to sit in front of the back four as well, which I can imagine. Well, especially in games that can't remember, was he playing against Sutton? But
he came on.
Yeah, in games like that, I guess sometimes that's quite helpful to have as well, having that presence in front of you.
Yeah, I think even last year we were missing a player like Jan to kind of sit in front of the back four. We conceded a lot of goals from cutbacks, from crosses in that second 6-yard box, and I think we lacked that holding midfielder that could defend like a defender, but also get on the ball and give it to players who can then go and take it forward like a JJ. So yeah, I think the balance of the team this year is probably better. And obviously we've replaced Cole, who was a goal scorer, with Michael, who's scoring goals himself. So we've not missed out on that kind of area of the pitch.
Yeah, Cole who. But in terms of, you mentioned it already a bit about the teams that you come up against this season and comparing it to last season. But I think what's interesting with League Two this season, I think what stood out is that there really is such a variety in styles. Like we've spoken about Sutton a bit already, but then you've got people like teams like Notts County who were just so possession heavy, and I thought Swindon were really impressive in how they kind of attack the ball with the ball on the deck. So I guess the question from that would be, what's it like adapting between all those different kind of styles and adapting to defending against them?
To be honest, I think League Two this year is going to be very tight because there's a lot of big teams in there with big budgets. You look at your Wrexham, Stockport, Notts County. Probably Wimbledon should be up there. Swindon are a big club. Bradford's a big club. Salford spend a lot of money. So the league this year is going to be very tight. But yeah, on styles, I think it is what it is. I mean, even in League One last year, you had Wimbledon under Ainsworth who were playing long ball. But then you had your MK Dons who were passing you to death. So it's just one of those things you adjust every game. Obviously, the gaffer prepares us to go into the game knowing what the other team are going to do. So yeah, I think it's a game by game basis. Because you go from your Barrows to Notts County, like you said.
Is there anybody in particular this season then that you found particularly tricky to deal with?
I thought Mansfield were very good, but I thought we were poor on the day. I think that was almost the hangover from last year. Our away days last year, we were always poor, and I think it took us a while to get out of that kind of slump. So I thought Mansfield were good. I thought Notts County passed the ball well, but didn't really go anywhere with it. Other than Mansfield, though, I wouldn't say I thought any of the other teams have really wowed me. I thought Swindon were good going forward, but we were down to 10 men for half an hour and they couldn't capitalise. And then even there's a few other games where we were down to 10 and managed to see out results.
Most of the games.
So,
hey, you can laugh at that, Jacob, because you haven't been sent off yet.
No. Hopefully I won't do.
You've been suspended, haven't you, Jacob?
Yeah, I got my 5 yellows because the rules this year are incredible. What you could get a yellow for from the referee. So yeah, I had my suspension, but I'm going to try and be a bit nicer to the referees and hopefully
we are top of the league in that area, which is obviously minor.
Very gratifying.
I mean, we did the same thing when we got promoted in League Two last time under Derry, didn't we? We were top of the yellow card.
Yeah, we get a pretty big fine at the end of the year. Mick was saying last week if we continue, but it's the way we play.
I'll play on the edge, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we're a team that kind of play on the edge when when we need to. So away from home and bringing players down in the right areas, I don't see a problem with the yellow cards. I'd want my midfielders to bring players down on counter attacks.
Well, I think the one that got you the suspension, I think, who was it against? It was against, I think it was against Tranmere, wasn't it? Yeah. And I remember Dave Titonda, he picked up a bit of a knock and he kind of gone into central defence, but you could see he was really hobbling. I remember somebody he was running through from midfield and he was running at Titonda. I remember I just looked at the situation and I kind of felt like you kind of cropped him because you thought you could see that Titonda's a bit crocked. And you're like, I don't want to have to deal with this.
Yeah. I mean, he was limping around for 5 minutes or so, and as my fullback, I couldn't have him limping around. I had to go out to the wide area, and then I tackled the guy. It bounced off his knee over my foot, and then he was running at Dave, and I thought I'm gonna have to chop him down. So that's how I got mine. But then I got a few yellows for talking to referees, which in seasons past would never have been yellows. So it's a bit frustrating on that front, but hopefully I don't pick up any more silly yellows.
I'm gobsmacked. He didn't get a yellow for smashing that ball into the middle of Barrow.
Well, to be fair, I mean, they were kicking the ball back on the pitch, so if I kicked it back down the tunnel, it'd only just come back on the pitch again.
Yeah, true.
And it cost them £80 for a new ball, and I thought, yeah, I've done it.
So just touching on something you mentioned there about the away form from last season, because I kind of felt that what a lot of it was. I think you mentioned the word hangover coming into Mansfield, but I felt like a lot of the away form last season was we go to the your Ipswiches and your Derbies, and they'd be such difficult places to go, and we weren't the only team going there and losing 4 or 5-0 a lot of the time. But it felt like there was a hangover from those games to when we played your Cambridges and your Cheltenhams, and it felt like that the kind of mental beating we took when we played those big teams and lost 4 or 5-0. It kind of felt like those carried through into the more winnable away games. I don't know what your kind of take on what was happening with our away form last season is.
I think I don't think we were threatening enough to the other team. So when we played away from home, they could just attack us at will, and we didn't have not the players, but maybe we didn't have the belief that we could get them the other way. So a lot of the time it became attack via defence when we played away from home. Whereas this year, I think people respect us, so they don't go flying forward because they know we've got the players to hit them on the counter, like we did against Colchester, Forest Green, and them teams. So I just think we're probably a little bit more savvy and lethal when we go forward away from home at the moment.
Just finally talking of our style this season, and I think you mentioned how we like to counter attack. More of the stats that's been doing the rounds a bit this season, I'm not sure if you've heard of it, is the direct speed stat, in that we were crowned as like the fastest team going forward in Europe. So as I think when that kind of stat gets banded around, I think people assume that it means you're pumping it long all the time and hitting long balls. But I don't, watching us, I don't really think that's the case. I think we like, we don't mind the long ball, but there's also quite a lot of it's quick passes on the deck forwards as well. So as someone who's probably the first point of distribution when we're kind of building out, I wonder what your kind of take on that is.
I think our real strength is we've got a lot of ball carriers in the team who can take the ball on half turn and drive forward with it. If you look at JJ, Adam Mayor's a brilliant ball carrier. Even Dave at left back, Joel at right back can beat a man. And obviously, once they beat their man, you've then got Sluey, Blocko, and Michael making runs. So I think it's just the characteristics of the team mean that we get forward quickly because we've got so many players that can run well with the ball.
Very interesting. Yeah, cheers. Back over to you, Freeze.
We're the fastest, dirtiest, and youngest football team in Europe.
Yes.
The fastest, the dirtiest, and the youngest. That's funny, and it's a strange one because I pick up on something that you said there, Jacob, and it kind of it's sort of reverse psychology in the fact that we've got the exuberance of youth, and yet I agree with you. We seem to be a bit more streetwise going forward, despite that exuberance of youth, which shouldn't really tally. But it seems, is it because they're not frightened of anything? Do you think is that what it is?
I think because they're given the license to go and kind of be creative and play how they want to play, knowing that the manager's supporting that style, us as players are supporting them to go and express themselves. And if they do lose the ball, it's not like you don't have Jan, Faz, Dave, you know what I mean? You've got Smudge in goal. So even if they lose it, it's not the end of the world because they've got 5 or 6 players who hunt the ball down for them and they'll hunt it them down themselves because we're quite a good pressing team as well. So I just think it's just the characteristics and the license to go and play like that.
You didn't include yourself in that as well. Just don't do yourself down.
Oh no, I'll hunt it down as well. That's a job I quite like. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've noticed that. Yeah, sometimes coming herring out of the box and herring out of your own half and just kind of chasing the striker who's gone all the way back into their half.
Yeah. The gaffer's big on not letting teams have that space to go and play. So a lot of the time we're following players here, there, and everywhere. Yeah.
Like their worst nightmare.
Yeah, like just a shadow behind them.
Yeah, quite right. You need a theme tune while you're doing it, just to frighten them. Right, Charlie, I'll come to you now. Have you got anything going on behind the scenes, or is it just have we got Saudi Arabian owners coming in and going to build?
Not quite yet, Freez. Not quite yet.
We've got cantilever stand down one side, or is it?
Quite yet, Freez. Not quite yet. Not quite yet. We haven't got mushy peas, mate. Yeah, every step at a time. We've obviously Dale's last day today, and Jack obviously got taken on as media assistant this week. He's done a really good job in the last couple of years. So he deserves that promotion. We're gearing up for Christmas, all Christmas parties. Martin's got some really good commercial deals going on. We've got some tenders going out for the different commercial stuff for next year, which is really good. Planning for a big cup run, which to beat Wickham. There's getting these games rescheduled. The Charlton game, not Charlton, sorry, Crawley, and the what's the next one's going to be called? Who is it? Crew. So getting those arranged, which is a bit annoying. Obviously, we'd like to have the fourth and Saturday for the international call-ups, but obviously cold Tuesday nights are less enjoyable for everyone. But we'll get those rearranged as soon as possible. It's all around going really quite well at the moment. It's all bobbing along, isn't it?
Well, we've not had any complaints, so yeah, I suppose it is going all right, and that's good to hear. But obviously, keep us informed. And Joel,
it is moving. By the way, the finding new owner, it is moving quicker than it has done. So there are a few leads out there at the moment. We're trying to knuckle down, so it's not going to be too much longer, hopefully.
Yeah, that'll be good. Something in the new year would be nice. So, Joel, we've got the Shrimp Trust have just announced the usual toy collection, and that begins at the Stockport game on December the 9th, I believe.
Yeah, no, we are obviously it's a collection we do every year. It always receives such a positive reception, which is really nice to see that there are so many people who come and donate to such a a really good worthwhile cause. I believe it is the Stockport game. I think it might be the collection point might well be inside, just because of how the Stockport game being the way it is. Obviously, it'll be quite a busy fixture, so it might be that we have to do the collection on the inside the bar, but we'll keep you updated regarding that. Yeah, and just in the meantime, obviously there'll be various different ways of donating. So as usual, any donations that anybody can spare would be really massively appreciated. And it's always been a really great uptake on that, and I'm sure it'll continue to be. And just to kind of actually pick up on another point from the trust, we probably should make just to pick up on kind of what Charlie said about various events that the clubs are putting on. The club is putting on. Obviously, it's something we want to see more of. It's something that brings income into the club, and I think the next one coming up is the Oktoberfest. Celebration that they've got booked, which would have been after the Crew game, but it's obviously it's 18th of November. So yeah, if anybody's wanting to go down and enjoy themselves with that, make sure to kind of go along and support the club, because obviously everything you put into the club, it'll hopefully trickle down into Derek having a bit more of a January transfer budget potentially. So fingers crossed we can get a few more people down to those events.
Yeah, so dig your lederhosen out, everybody.
Pretty much, yeah.
Derek's Plymouth podcast, absolutely priceless. So if you listen to it, brilliant.
Oh yeah,
listen to it.
It was. I have. It went on a bit, didn't it? But
no, in a great way. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, and it's funny because obviously Matt's taking over from Dale, who's departed. Matt starts officially tomorrow, and one of my first jobs was to try and persuade. Dale promised me that we'd get the gaffer on before the end of October, and here we are in November. So he's broken his promise, which is probably why he's left.
I'll get him on. I was going to get him on in the next couple of weeks, but obviously, I presume he wants to keep a low podcast profile for a couple of weeks. Boxing Day is going to be enjoyable. Bradford away.
Well, it depends. Result depending.
Yeah.
With a little wave to the crowd.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was quality.
That's why he's such a good manager, and we're very lucky to have him. I think the things he said there in that interview, I think it's great.
Yeah, you're right. It was well worth listening to. So this has been ShrimpNet number 13. Thank you to Jacob for coming on. Good luck with that. When's the next Grenada meeting then?
It's the World Cup qualifiers in March.
Oh wow! Oh, you've got all the winter in the dark and the miserable and the horrible and Grimsby and Blackpool and don't go there. So at least you got something to look forward to then. But thanks for coming.
Final question, Jacob. Sorry, is your dog still wearing his bandana that I got for him?
Yeah, it's just in his it's in his basket at the moment. But yeah, he does wear it on match days only. It's a match day only thing.
Good lad. Chief is called.
Well. Charlie might give you something else underneath the Christmas tree. So thanks for listening, everybody. Charlie, thanks as always. You can go and get your son from football practice now.
Yeah, he's just finished. Cheers, Freeze.
Yeah, no worries. And Joel, thank you very much. Join us next week when we will review, obviously, the Grimsby and the Blackpool games. And we have no Saturday game to look forward to, but we can look forward to seeing how all our charges have done in the internationals. But have a good week. Here's to another 3 points at Blundell Park. Thanks for listening.